Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and I'm sure as you saw by the title, today we're talking about Nioh 2. But not just talking, more like in-depth reviewing the game. I know it hasn't come out yet, but the game has had an alpha and a couple of betas, with the last beta being The Last Chance, and I think all of those gameplays we kind of can concoct our own theories on how the game will be. So right here, what you're seeing today is my own concocted theory of the game. If you guys haven't seen my expectation versus reality videos before, or at least my latest one, it's essentially me reviewing a game before it comes out and assuming whether or not the game will succeed or fail. And by doing this, I go into the previous game's history and compare to it to see if it has a chance at being better or worse than its predecessors or predecessor. If you guys don't want to see me go into depth on the first game and just want to see the review itself, then I'll have a time up on the screen that you can see and you can skip straight to so you can watch the actual review. But if not, then just stay tuned and watch the whole video. And now with that being said, let's see if Nioh 2 can live up to our expectations or become the shitty reality that we all expect. Nioh is an action role-playing video game developed by Team Ninja for the PlayStation 4, and it was released worldwide in February of 2017 and was published by Sony Interactive Entertainment internationally and by Koei Tecmo in Japan. Nioh began development in 2004 for the PlayStation 3 as part of a multimedia project based on an unfinished Akira Kurosawa script. The project went through a turbulent and prolonged pre-production period, going through multiple revisions until its final version began development in 2014 for the PlayStation 4. Nioh was first announced by the original developer in Koei in 2004 under its working title Oni, but was reintroduced as Nioh at the 2015 Tokyo Game Show as a PlayStation 4 exclusive, with the scheduled launch in Japan of 2016. The story is based on the life of a historic Western samurai named William Adams, an English navigator who in the 1600s was the first Englishman to reach Japan during a 5-ship expedition for a private Dutch fleet. He was one of only a few survivors of the only ship that reached Japan. Adams and his second mate, Jan Jolson, were not allowed to leave the country, while Jacob and Melchior were to go back to the Dutch Republic to invite them to trade. Adams and Jolson had settled in Japan and became the first two ever, and still two of the very few Western samurai, although the story that you play in Nioh is embellished with supernatural elements opposed to real life. The game is set during a fictionalized version of the 1600s. The plot follows the journeys of William, the Irish sailor, who pursues the sorcerer Edward Kelly into the final battles of the Sengoku period during the Tokugawa Ieyasu's efforts to unify Japan, an effort complicated by the emergence of yokai that are flourishing in chaos of war. The gameplay evolves around navigating levels and defeating monsters that have infested an area. You, the player, takes control of William on missions through enclosed environments, fighting both human and supernatural beings called yokai. The missions you do are self-contained and hold alternate routes that William can navigate and select from a menu rather than it being reached by navigating an open world. While navigating those selected environments, William can find various collectibles in crates scattered throughout the environment and other places within the environments, such as fallen soldiers. These collectibles include Amrita, the game's XP, gold, the in-game currency, new weapons, armor, and consumable items such as bombs. Weapons and armor can be found in the environment and can be taken to a blacksmith. Blacksmiths are able to buy it from William, or they can break it down into a base material. Nioh 1 is also covered with shrines scattered throughout the levels that act as checkpoints, allowing players to save, progress, and replenish health, as well as raise William's experience level. However, doing this respawns all normal enemies within that area of the shrine. Nioh also lets you use skill points in the game and are acquired in combat, and then assign these skill points at shrines. The combat in the game revolves around its stamina or ki management, and different sword stances that are strong or weak depending on the different enemies you face. William can run, dodge, sprint with these combat actions, draining his ki stamina bar. When his ki has been depleted, William is left vulnerable to an attack. If timed right, William is able to replenish his lost ki with an action called Ki Pulse. The Ki Pulse also grants status buffs onto William and dispels patches of miasma generated by yokai and other supernatural enemies, which rapidly saps ki, and the speed at which William can get through levels depends on the weight of his equipped armor. The heavier it is, the faster his ki will drain, and vice versa. If William dies, all the XP acquired up to that point is left where he fell, and he must travel back to retrieve it, But if he dies again and doesn't reach the first XP that he lost, then the amount of XP dropped is lost for good. The alpha and beta demos were released during 2016 to both gauge the public reaction to the game and make adjustments based on the feedback from the alphas and betas. Initially, the game was scheduled for 2016. However, with the feedback they received, the adjustments they had to make pushed Nioh 1 to release onto the following year of February 7, 2017. Upon its release, Nioh received positive reviews, with praise going to the gameplay and graphics, while the story was somewhat criticized as incoherent. However, despite the criticism, the game still reached high positions in the sales charts. Nioh opened at number 2 in the UK sales charts, and retailers like Amazon and Walmart sold all their stock of Nioh 1 within the first week of its release. On February 24, 2017, Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja announced that Nioh had shipped over 1 million units worldwide within its first 2 weeks of sale. The numbers included retail shipments and digital sales. And by February of 2019, the game had shipped over 2.5 million copies worldwide, which is not bad at all for an exclusive game. Now that you guys are somewhat familiar with Nioh 1, you should now have sort of an idea of Nioh 2, at least, some sort of picture. So with that being said, let's see if Nioh 2 can live up to our expectations or become a reality. Nioh 2 is an upcoming action role-playing game and is the successor and prequel to the original Nioh, set in the late 1500s. The story of Nioh 2 takes place before the first game in 1555 feudal Japan, and follows the historical warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who unified the country. However, Nioh 2 turns Hideyoshi into two people, one controlled by you and the other controlled by a man known as Taokichiro. The fictionalization gets much wider than that, as your parents are of different species. One is human and the other is yokai. This makes you a shiftling, able to transform from a human form onto a powerful demon, using supernatural abilities to your savage advantage in combat. In fact, any yokai you defeat will drop a soul core, giving you the ability to equip one of their big moves. Yasuda said the goal of the first game was to make a Sengoku death game. This time around, the team wanted to make a Sengoku yokai death game. There is supposedly a new place in Nioh 2 called the Dark Realm, which is where yokai dwell. At certain points, yokai will drag you down here, as the Dark Realm enhances their powers. This brings out some of the tougher enemies in the game, but when you defeat them, you have a chance at getting better rewards. Also, when you are fighting these creatures, you aren't allowed to open any chests when you are there still around. Gameplay in Nioh 2 is also similar to its predecessor, with the exception of players being able to create their own playable character, who are, as you know by now, yokai spirits, and are equipped with a variety of weapons such as an odaichi and kusarigama. And they earn new skills as they progress through the game. When players defeat a hostile yokai, some of them may drop a soul core. Soul cores allow players to use yokai abilities and transform into yokai after they are deposited in a shrine, at locations named Benevolent Graves. At Benevolent Graves, players can summon at most 2 avatars of other players controlled by artificial intelligence to assist them in combat. Another big addition to this game, rather than the first game, is the ability to transform into a yokai, which is called Yokai Shifts. It's a new mechanic that allows players to become possessed by their guardian spirits, and once possessed, they acquire powerful attacks and special moves. Along with that, the game will also feature a 3-player cooperative multiplayer mode. I don't think it has been confirmed yet, but you should be able to play the full game in 3-player cooperative mode with friends. I don't know if it's a mode or it's actually part of the campaign. You'd have to do some research on your own for that. But the game will also add more enemies to each map in the process should you add someone to your team. From what it looks like, Nioh 2 is not really diverging from its predecessor in a big way. Much of it keeps most of the same aspects, while it seems like it's trying to improve on others. Like one of the new additions to the game, the character creation. A lot of fans like the newly added character creation so far in the betas. They say they give you very in-depth settings to customize your character and make him or her look different than anybody else within the game. And I think it's also a breath of fresh air, opposed to the first game where all you had is Rillium. Yeah, granted, you can make him look different, but that was about it. I mean, it was just still his appearance. Whereas this game allows you to continuously change your appearance and save a multiple amount of them. So basically, you'd have presets of them. And I think that's really cool. Definitely goes and expands the variety of how you look. Not only that, usually when you look a certain way, you're stuck for that same way the whole game. This game is generous enough to allow you to change your character throughout the entire game. And I mean a complete revamp. You can totally change how he looks in general. which is pretty damn cool. A lot of people say the final Last Chance beta felt a lot smoother than the previous ones in terms of just moving around and fighting in the action mode. But as far as the frames go, the game isn't perfect, as there seems to be a lot of frame rate drops, especially during the movie mode on the PlayStation Pro, and some in the action mode as well. The game has improved overall in its quality, but isn't really something to baffle over, I would say. The game also has a large variety of weapons and weapon skills, like the first one, but hasn't really increased in either category too much, which some people might not like, but this is only based off the demos, and they still might be hiding a couple more of them in the final version. I think I heard that they're adding 3 more to the final game because of the fans, so that's definitely something to look forward to. Also, a new addition to Nioh 2 is the burst skills and counters. Burst skills are skills that cost 1 point of anima, the purple Yokai gauge, and it requires no key to use, and you can pretty much cancel out most weapons attacks in the game, which is pretty cool. So far, there's like 3 bursts in the game: Brute, Furl, and Phantom. Each of these have their own variety of unique skills and offer a lot of versatility in combat. That's mostly thanks to the low cost and efficiency, which some people say that it might cost too low. So who knows, maybe in the final version they bring up the cost to make the game more balanced. Because if you can continuously use these, then it might be OP, depending on how you buff these up or utilize them. They also make fighting boss fights in this game by yourself a lot more manageable. And speaking of boss fights, let's talk about the enemies in this game. The enemies are more in depth than its previous game. The fighting styles are a lot more versatile, and their variety of enemies are just better than the first. Definitely allowing for more enjoyable fights, be it boss fights or grunts. But I heard boss fights are really fun as well, with the bosses being a lot more versatile than the original. I think they really have improved in this style, specifically this aspect. I know a lot of people complaining about the variety of enemies in the first one, so for them to just take a step up ahead and fix that immediately is pretty damn cool. The difficulty has also taken a step up, allowing for a more challenging experience. In the earlier betas, though, there was a problem. The game seemed somewhat unfair, even for those, not just for those actually who just started, it was also for veterans. The game was actually legitimately harder than the first one, a lot harder, so that to balance it out, now it's a lot more balanced and even. It's not easy per se, but it's definitely a lot more manageable, especially with all the upgrades you're given. Some might say it might be even too easy if you add a party to it. So we'll see how they go about balancing that out in the future. And if that's not enough for you, Nioh 2 also plans to add Abyss and New Game Plus modes in the future updates, along with 3 future paid DLCs planned. You know, I think they've definitely taken a step up from its predecessor, this game, overall, by working on the things they've needed to. I think Team Ninja really listened to their fans on this. They've been a real pro in this situation, continuously making improvements to each beta, continuously listening to fans about the flaws and not trying to stand their own ground, but actually trying to, make the game as best as it can be. They're obviously not trying to make a perfect game here, as you can see, by releasing all these betas. That's definitely not their intention, but they're trying to make the best possible game they can make. And with all the betas they've released and all the improvements they've made, that's what we're definitely seeing here, the best possible game they can make. Despite that, I think the game will still have quite a few flaws in it. The game still isn't an open world, which isn't a problem, but games that lack the enthusiasm to keep you thrilled in its main story or don't have a lot of satisfying side quests tend to get repetitive, and I don't think this game is impervious to that at all. I think you will eventually get tedious, because I don't think the main story will be that, entertaining. It'll be a good story, but I don't think it'll be enough to carry the game on its own. And I damn sure don't think the side quests will do that as well. Or it might have a tedious end game with not enough game content in it, and you might have to wait around to the DLCs to release. However, I don't think this will be a problem, considering you'll have a New Game Plus and Abyss modes by then, which will definitely help out in this category, especially in terms of replayability. So I think that'll keep you going without the DLCs. I think there will be a lot of bugs and frame rate drops when the game officially releases and you get to play the 3-player co-op mode. I don't think a lot of that was really implemented in the betas, and for good reason. I think we will definitely see bugs there, but that has yet to present itself since we've barely seen it. But that's just my speculation. It could be clean, but I doubt it will. In any case, these flaws can definitely affect how the game will play out. but I doubt it would affect its overall effect. I think the impact is put on people from the betas. I think people already like this game, and I honestly think it's impossible for this game to do straight up bad, because I think they've given fans a taste of every bit of this game, from its worst stage of development to its current best. I think fans seem to appreciate what they've been given, especially in the last trial beta. For that to be the last result, I think fans really appreciate what they've done. Not for being a straight out masterpiece, of course, but definitely seeing it vastly improved from its original alpha to its beta, which you expect. But they've been asking fans' opinions. They've been recurringly trying to make this game better, and fans appreciate when they're upfront like that, the developers. So if you ask me, will this game live up to expectations? I would say yes, but in the lowest possible yes I can possibly say, because the game still has flaws, and I think the game presented flaws in its final beta as well, and I think those flaws should have been fixed, considering this isn't some huge graphical upgrade or a massively expanded version than its predecessor, but it did improve upon what we wanted, and that's more than enough if you ask me. Anyway, if you guys disagreed or believed I was incorrect on a lot of my statements, then please comment your opinions below on what you thought I exaggerated below on. I'm really enjoying the YouTube community lately, whether I get hate or love. It really helps me improve either way, and I know it's a learning experience for me, so I just look forward to learning however I can, and I do put the utmost effort I possibly can in each video. So with that being said, whatever you have to say, be raw and honest with me so I can improve on them in later videos. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe. It would most certainly make my day, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Till next time.